I have a question for you. Have you walked into a drugstore lately?
Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going.
Because I did yesterday, and I got, I mean, genuine emotional whiplash.
The holiday aisles.
Yes. I walked in, and on the left, there was this lingering, sad clearance section of Halloween candy.
Right. Orange wrappers, skeletons, half off.
Exactly. And then I turned my head just like 3 inches to the right, and boom!
Christmas.
Explosion of red and green tinsel, Santa Claus chocolates, and snowmen. It was like November didn't even exist.
It's the retail calendar, isn't it? It moves so much faster than the actual seasons do.
It really does. But it made me think about how desperate we are for those markers. You know, we need to know what time it is.
We do.
But then, of course, I opened my phone while waiting in line, and I saw the other side of the holiday season, the arguments.
Ah, yes. The annual social media tradition of debating where the holidays actually come from.
It's like clockwork. October hits, and my feed is just full of memes saying, Halloween is a stolen druidic death ritual. Then December comes, and it's all, Christmas is just a rebranded Roman festival, and if you have a tree, you're basically a pagan. It's become this weird battle for authenticity. You know, like only one group is allowed to own a date on the calendar.
It's a very polarized way of looking at history. It frames tradition as a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Either it's Christian or it's pagan, and one must have stolen it from the other.
Right. And usually the narrative is the church stole your fun. So today we are going to dive into this properly.
Okay.
We've got a stack of research here, specifically focusing on a deep dive called Sacred Seasons, the intersection of pagan and Christian traditions. And the goal today isn't to declare a winner. It's to figure out why these traditions look so similar, why they're actually totally different, and I guess why we care so much.
And that is the mission. We want to move past the gotcha moments you see on Reddit threads and look at the human psychology behind all this. Because when you strip away the theology for a second, you realize that both traditions are trying to solve the same problem.
The problem of time.
Precisely, the problem of time.
I loved how the source material started with this concept.
Yeah.
It talks about holidays as anchors.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, without holidays, what is time?
Yeah.
It's just
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Then another Tuesday. Then a Wednesday that feels like a Tuesday.
It's what sociologists might call undifferentiated time.
Undifferentiated time.
And that is actually psychologically very difficult for humans to handle. We saw a bit of this during the lockdowns a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
The blur.
Exactly. When the external markers of routine vanished, people felt adrift. We lost the rhythm.
Hold it.
So historically, every culture, regardless of what god they worship, invented holidays to break up that blur, to create structure.
To say, stop working. Look up, this day is different.
Yes. Though, before we even get to Jesus or Odin, we have this biological or maybe social need to mark the passage of the year.
We need a rhythm to survive. We do. We need to know when to plant, when to harvest, when to rest, when to mourn. But, and here's where it gets really interesting, the way different cultures build that rhythm depends entirely on how they view time itself.
Okay, this was the biggest light bulb moment for me in the reading.
The main takeaway.
Yeah, the distinction between the circle and the line.
It is the fundamental divide. If you want to understand the difference between pagan and Christian holidays, you have to understand the shape of time in their respective worldviews.
So let's start with the older one. Let's talk about the circle. This is the pagan perspective, right?
Correct. The old ways, or the modern reconstructions of them, are deeply rooted in the agricultural reality of, say, Northern Europe.
Okay.
For an ancient farmer, time isn't really going anywhere. It's looping. You plant, things grow, things die, things decay, and then, miraculously, they grow again.
The wheel of the year.
Exactly. The wheel. In this worldview, there is no end of history. There's just the eternal return. And the holidays, the Sabbats, are the spokes on that wheel.
They aren't random dates.
Not at all. They are astronomical checkpoints.
I think a lot of people know these vaguely, maybe from fantasy novels or just cultural osmosis. But let's run through the wheel quickly. Because when you lay them out, you realize they are literally just the story of the sun.
They are. You have the 4 quarter days, the solstices and equinoxes, and then the 4 cross-quarter days that fall perfectly in between them.
Okay, so we start in the dark. Yule, the winter solstice.
The longest night of the year. The sun has, in a way, died. But Yule isn't just about the dark. It's about the promise that the sun will return.
It's that moment the days start getting longer again.
That's the one, which is a pretty big deal if you don't have electricity and you're worried the sun might just give up on you.
Right? Then we move to Imbolc. This is early February.
This is one of the cross-quarter days.
Wow.
In the agricultural cycle, this was lambing season. The source mentions the association with lactation ewes starting to produce milk.
Oh, interesting.
It's the very first sign that winter is losing its grip. Life is waking up.
Then we get to Ostara, the spring equinox. Balance.
Light and dark are equal, but light is winning. The world is coming into bloom.
Which leads right into Beltane, May Day.
The fertility festival, yeah. This is the high point of spring energy. It's about life, reproduction, fire, and passion. It's the earth in its teenage years, full of energy.
I feel like Beltane is the one that gets the most side-eye in history books because it was quite enthusiastic.
It was a celebration of life continuing, yes.
Okay, then we hit the peak. Letha, summer solstice.
The longest day. The sun is at its maximum power. But in the pagan worldview, the moment you reach the peak, the decline begins.
That's the bittersweet part of the wheel, isn't it?
Yeah.
As soon as you win, you start losing.
It's the nature of the cycle. You have Lughnasadh, the first harvest. You're cutting down the grain, metaphorically killing the grain god so the people can eat.
Then Mabon, the autumn equinox. Balance again.
But tipping toward the dark this time.
And finally, Samhain.
The end of the cycle. Harvest is done. The world is dying. The vegetation is rotting back into the soil to feed next year's crops. This is the time of ancestors, of death, and the thin veil between worlds.
And
then we wait for Yule and we do it all again.
So the sacred here is nature itself.
Yeah.
It's immanent. It's in the dirt, the rain, the sun.
Exactly.
You aren't praying to a god outside the system. You are aligning yourself with the system.
Perfectly put. Now hold that image of the circle in your mind. And let's bring in the Christian perspective, because this is where the geometry changes.
Enter the line.
Enter the line. The Judeo-Christian worldview introduced something really radical to the ancient world. Linear time.
Meaning time has a start and a finish.
Yes. It has a definite beginning, creation. It has a specific, unrepeatable middle, the incarnation, the life of Jesus. And it has a prophesied end.
Judgment, redemption, the new heaven and new earth.
Exactly. It's a story, a narrative arc.
It's teleological. I remember that from the source.
That's the fancy word, yeah. It's moving toward a purpose. In this view, you aren't just circling around every year. You are marching forward toward a destination.
So the Christian holidays aren't checkpoints on a wheel. They're milestones in a biography.
Exactly. They mark the sacred narrative. We start with Advent and Christmas, the arrival of the protagonist, Jesus.
Right.
Then Epiphany, his revelation to the world. Then Lent, a time of testing and reflection.
Which leads to the climax.
Easter, the resurrection. And notice, Easter moves around the calendar, but the meaning is anchored in a historical claim that this specific event happened and it changed history.
And then Pentecost, the descent of the Holy Spirit.
Right. And while the pagan themes were sun and harvest, the Christian themes are salvation, sacrifice, sin, and redemption.
So one is asking, what is the weather doing? And the other is asking, what is God doing to save humanity?
In a nutshell, yes. One looks down at the earth, the other looks up at the divine plan.
Okay, so we have the circle and the line, two totally different ways of viewing existence. But, and here's the elephant in the room, they are happening at the exact same time.
And this is where the friction comes from. This is where the arguments start.
I mean, let's just look at the calendar. Yule is late December. Christmas is late December.
Check.
Ostar is early spring. Easter is early spring.
Check.
Samhain is roughly November 1st. All Saints' Day is November 1st. It really does look like a copy-paste job.
It certainly looks that way, and that is the basis of the theft narrative.
Right.
But the source material argues we need to look at this through the lens of syncretism and enculturation, not just theft.
Okay, syncretism.
Mm-hmm.
We hear that word a lot in history, but
Right.
break it down for us in this context. Is it just a nice way of saying stealing?
Not really, no. Think about it from the perspective of the early Christian missionaries moving into Northern Europe. You're meeting a people who have lived by the rhythm of the seasons for thousands of years. They are terrified of the winter dark. They have a massive party at the solstice to call back the sun.
You aren't going to convince them to just sit in the dark and be miserable.
Exactly. You cannot simply delete a culture's joy. If you try, they will reject you. So the strategy, and sometimes it was conscious, sometimes it was just natural evolution, was to take the form of the celebration, but change the content.
So keep the feast, keep the candles, keep the tree, but let's change who we are toasting to.
Precisely. The pagans were celebrating the return of the sun, S-U-N.
Right.
The Christians said, we also have a message about light coming into the darkness to save the world, but we're talking about the sun, S-O-N, of God.
The symbolism is the bridge.
It is. Humans speak in symbols, and we only have so many symbols to work with. Light, darkness, feast, fast, blood, bread. Both traditions are grabbing from the same toolbox because we all live on the same planet.
The tree is my favorite example of this. The source went into detail about the evergreen.
The evergreen is a perfect symbol. In the dead of winter, when everything else is brown and dead, this one tree stays green.
It defies death.
Yes. For a pagan, that's magic. It's the life force holding on. For a Christian, that becomes a symbol of eternal life through Christ.
So the Christians didn't steal the tree, they just baptized it.
That is a very good way to put it. They baptized the custom. They said, this tree is beautiful and meaningful. Let's use it to tell our story.
And the same with eggs at Easter.
Same mechanic. An egg is a tomb. It looks like a dead stone, but life breaks out of it.
So it's a fertility symbol for pagans.
But it became a resurrection symbol for Christians.
It's adaptation. It allowed people to keep their cultural rhythm while adopting a new faith.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of genius.
It is. It's continuity. It prevented a lot of cultural trauma. You didn't have to throw away everything your grandmother taught you. You just had to view it through a new lens.
But, and the source is very firm on this, we shouldn't go so far as to say, therefore they are the same thing.
Correct. And this is the trap many modern people fall into. They say, oh, Christmas is just Yule. It isn't.
Because the why matters.
The intent matters deeply. If you're standing around a bonfire at Yule, your intent is to honor the turning of the seasons and the spirits of the land.
Okay.
If you are at midnight mass on Christmas Eve, your intent is to worship the incarnation of God in history. The fire might look the same, but the internal experience of the participant is fundamentally different.
One is about maintaining the cosmic balance. The other is about personal and universal salvation.
And structurally, they're different too. The source points out that paganism is decentralized. It's flexible.
Right.
There's no pope of paganism dictating how you celebrate the solstice.
Whereas Christianity, especially as it developed in the West, became very institutional.
It had to be. If you're trying to unify a continent under one creed, you need the calendar to be standardized. You need everyone celebrating Easter on the same Sunday. So Christian holidays became fixed, doctrinal anchors, whereas pagan holidays were more about the local experience of the land.
Experience versus belief. That feels like a key distinction.
Yeah.
Paganism feels, Christianity believes. I know that's a huge oversimplification.
But it's a useful heuristic. Yes.
But now this brings us to the present day. Because we aren't medieval peasants, we have iPhones and central heating. We don't really need to worry about the sun coming back.
We know the orbital mechanics.
Right. And yet, the source highlights a massive resurgence in interest in these old ways.
It's everywhere.
It is. I know people who are culturally Christian. You know, maybe they go to church on Christmas and Easter, but they also have a Yule log, or they celebrate the solstice, or they're really into the Wheel of the Year charts.
The source calls this a dual hunger.
Dual hunger.
Yes. On one hand, modern people are starving for connection to the earth. We live in boxes, we work in boxes, we stare at screens. We have cut ourselves off from the circle.
So we crave rituals that force us to notice the moon, the leaves, the season.
But we also don't want to lose the line.
Right.
We still want that sense of progress, of higher meaning, of the cultural heritage that Christianity provided for centuries. We want the comfort of the heavenly promise and the grounding of the earthly ritual.
So we're seeing these hybrid identities. The source mentioned Christian witches or Christo-pagans.
It sounds contradictory if you look at the theology strictly, but psychologically it makes perfect sense. People are curating their own spiritual calendars.
They're doing exactly what the early church did.
They're syncretizing. We are enculturating ourselves in real time. We're building a new synthesis that works for the 21st century.
And I think that's why these authenticity wars on social media are so silly. When you scream at someone, that's not a Christian tree, that's pagan, you're ignoring how fluid human culture actually is.
You're trying to police boundaries that have been porous for 2,000 years. The takeaway shouldn't be who owns this day. It should be, look at how universally human it is to need this day.
It builds empathy. When I see someone lighting a candle for Samhain, and I'm lighting a candle for All Saints' Day, we're both looking at the darkness and trying to find a little bit of light.
We're just using different maps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were all just trying to anchor ourselves in the stream of time so we don't get washed away. So we've covered the circle and the line, the wheel and the narrative. I think this gives us a really cool framework to look at our own lives.
It does. It forces a bit of self-reflection.
So here's the question we want to leave you with today, and it's a big one. When you look at your year, the one you're living right now, how does it feel to you?
Do you feel like you are on the circle? Is your comfort found in the repetition, the seasons, the return to the start?
Or do you feel like you're on the line? Are you focused on the destination, the milestones, the progress toward a goal?
Or, and this is the real challenge, can you find a way to live in both?
Right.
Can you respect the rhythm of the earth while still moving forward in your story?
That's the balance, walking the line while honoring the circle.
It's not easy, but it is a rich way to live.
Something to think about the next time you're deciding between the chocolate Santa and the pumpkin spice latte.
You can probably have both.
I think you definitely can. Thanks for diving deep into the sacred seasons with us. We'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.